Sony and PlayStation are doing their best to memory hole Concord after they shut the game down just a week ago. They are now removing the game from customers' PlayStation 5 consoles if they purchased the digital download of the game. That's right. You are not able to uninstall it because they have already removed it from your console if you happen to be one of the few people that actually purchased the game. Before we get to this, I'd like to ask you, please hit that subscribe button, hit that bell for notifications so you don't miss any of our future videos here at the Trent Report. Wrote this up over at thatparkplace.com. And this news comes to us via The Gamer. And they reported that players who did indeed download the game digitally through the PlayStation Store and attempted to access the game after it was shut down on September 6th, 2024. They received this message. I assume this is from a European player, given the fact that they've got the date as 6/9/24. That's instead of 9/6/24. But anyways, this is the message they received. Thank you for being a valued PlayStation customer. Live services for Concord went offline on September 6th, 2024. The game is not playable, and as a result, we have removed this content from your account. So I assume that you can still click on the little Concord icon if you had downloaded it, but when you actually try and boot it up, you get this message saying that they actually removed it from your account, from your console. Absolutely wild stuff here. Clearly trying to memory hole this game. Interestingly, the gamer's Jack Coleman does claim that when using the physical copy of the game for PlayStation 5, you are able to boot up the game, but, quote, you're not allowed to progress past the title screen. While it is rare for companies to remove digital games from players' consoles and digital libraries, it is not unheard of. Ubisoft did something similar with The Crew at the end of March this year. In the middle of December 2023, the company announced today The Crew 1, including all its editions and virtual currency packs, will be delisted from all online stores. Remember, that's similar to what we saw with Concord. They delisted it from all of the online stores, and they were actually probably trying to recall all of the physical copies from places like GameStop where they had sold it to. And then obviously they shut it down a few days later. And we saw something similar again like this happen back in December. And then obviously they shut it all down in March, because then they said the game will remain playable until March 31st, 2024 for all the Crew 1 owners. After this date, the servers will be shut down, which means that the game will not be accessible anymore on any platform, including PC, Xbox 360, Xbox One, PlayStation 4, Amazon Luna, and Ubisoft Plus. They went on to explain why they were doing it, claiming it had to do with licensing constraints, etc. It's a bunch of bogus. At the end of March, players reported that they were unable to play the game anymore and received an error message when attempting to launch it. Here's one right here from Andrew Seven. Says he got this file corrupted. This program has been manipulated, and maybe it's infected by a virus or cracked. The file won't work anymore. We had another player here say this on the Crew subreddit, that they received this message saying, you no longer have access to this game. Why not check the store to pursue your adventures? Interestingly, Ubisoft did indicate that they will be providing offline modes for the Crew 2 and the Crew Motorfest. They did this just this week, posted this on X. We heard your concerns about access to the Crew games. Yeah, because you literally paid for something and now you have removed it from them, in effect stealing the game from them, which probably violates a number of laws, I would expect. And I would not be surprised if there are some lawsuits waged against Ubisoft for this move, because I think that not only is it unethical, it's immoral, and probably is illegal as well. Nevertheless, they said, today we want to express our commitment to the future of the Crew 2 and the Crew Motorfest. We can confirm an offline mode to ensure long-term access to both titles. Stay tuned for more news in the next months. And there's a video here of one of their people probably talking about it. As for the fate of Concord, Firewalk Studios game director Ryan Ellis left an inkling that Concord might return in some manner when he announced the game would be shut down at the beginning of this month. In a blog post on the official PlayStation blog, Ellis said this: while we determine the best path ahead, Concord sales will cease immediately, and we will begin to offer a full refund for all gamers who have purchased the game for PS5 or PC. If you purchase the game for PlayStation 5 from the PlayStation Store or PlayStation Direct, a refund will be issued back to your original payment method. He concluded saying, we'll keep you updated, and thank you again to all the free gunners who have joined us in the Concord play. So I think there was a little bit of maybe promise there that Concord might return, might pull a multiverses or something like that, shut down for a couple of months and then relaunch. However, I don't think that is the case anymore when they are removing the digital downloads from players' consoles. It's highly likely that Concord will not be returning, and it's likely it'll be repurposed to work on Bungie's Marathon or Haven Interactive Studios' Fair Games. And I say that because if you look at the press release when Sony first purchased Firewalk Studios and Concord, it declared this: Firewalk will collaborate alongside world-class development teams, including Bungie and Haven Interactive Studios, to define a new generation of live service experiences for PlayStation gamers. We know Bungie is obviously working on Marathon, and Haven Interactive Studios is working on that anti-capitalist Fair Games, which is likely going to suffer the same fate as Concord. If not, they might cancel it before it even has to suffer the same fate as Concord. I think there's also a possibility that the company works with Arrowhead Studios for Helldivers 2, given that is a Sony published game, although it's not a Sony developed. Like, I don't think Arrowhead Studios is fully owned by PlayStation Studios, but Sony does indeed publish the game. And that game did find early success, but due to a number of self-inflicted wounds, has seen its player base significantly decline over this year. The game hit a peak concurrent player count of 458,709 players after it launched in February, but has since, since its most recent 24-hour, but looking at its most recent 24-hour peak concurrent player count, you can see it only hit 17,905. So huge decline there. You can see the big drop off right there. And I think a lot of it has to do with their own self-inflicted wounds, both nerfing players' weapons and things like that in a PvE game. Just absolutely idiotic, dumb, stupid behavior. That's probably the most significant thing that they've done, on top of all the community management errors that they've had as well. There's also a big possibility that most of the studio gets completely shuttered after some employees are moved to other studios within PlayStation Studios, similar to what happened with Bungie. If you recall, Bungie CEO and Chairman Pete Parsons announced at the end of July that it was laying off 17% of its staff while moving 155 people, or 12% of its staff, to other positions within Sony Interactive Entertainment. It also announced that a significant portion of its employees would be spun out to form a new studio within PlayStation Studios to continue work on an incubation project that they were working on within Bungie. So I think that is a possibility as well. I think that is probably likely what is going to happen. You're probably going to see significant layoffs at Firewalk Studios. You are probably going to see some people get moved to other projects, to other studios within PlayStation Studios. And then there's possibility if Firewalk Studios was working on something else other than Concord, you might see them get spun off to work in a separate project, or they might go and join whatever this new studio is that they were working on with the Bungie incubation project. So I don't think people are going to forget this game, though. I think people are going to continually bring this up. It is probably the biggest disaster in video games we've seen in years. Interestingly, it is the biggest in a year of big disasters. Obviously, Suicide Squad killed the Justice League. I think Star Wars Outlaws is up there as well. And we still aren't at the end of the year yet, because Assassin's Creed Shadows comes out in November, and we will see how well that game performs. I think it probably will perform potentially worse than Star Wars Outlaws, but I don't think it's going to be as bad here as Concord. But people are not going to forget Concord. They're not going to forget the woke disaster that it is, and it will be continuously brought up to point out the failure of woke video games. But let me know what you guys make of this. Let me know in the comments below. Remember to always be charitable, especially to each other, but to always speak the truth.